What was in the toilet, Lucy?
I don't know.
No!
One or two.
Lucy is masturbating in the garden.
Again.
Have you seen this woman? This begs a question. If he was behind...
A question? But the police said, well, you really weren't in that much danger because she was a girl.
Oh my god.
Who was a girl?
I'm gonna get drunk now. This episode is fun. Good, I'm glad I'm holding my cat and she's gazing at me lovingly while you tell me these horrific things.
Yeah, hold on to that feeling.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Wine and Crime.
That's not the intro.
You are listening to Wine and Crime. We've been doing this for over 7 years.
We're fine.
The podcast where 2+ friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Yeah, we are 3 friends today.
2+.
Soul blessed.
Well, I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda, and who's that fella over there?
I was just thinking, what would you do if I just didn't say anything the whole time? I just you could see me, but I just refused to participate.
You would be fitting the theme of today's episode, actually.
You were just creeping in the corner.
Truly.
It's very meta.
It's very meta.
It's me, Josh Hallmark.
And Josh is gaslighting us into believing that he's here while not being here. I don't really know what the angle is, but I love it.
I'm here for it. And Josh did give us a little hint into today's episode topic. Topic. We have a very special fan pick brought to you by Tori Smith.
Good job, Tori. Thanks for giving me nightmares.
Tori, I think Tori read my mind because I had just finished watching a Hulu series about this when I received Tori's email. So Tori has picked the topic of house guests, aka phrogging crimes.
Ugh. I'm sure we'll get to why it's called phrogging, right?
Yes, we will. Phrogging with a PH.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead, Josh.
Well, no, I texted you guys in a blind panic about phrogging a few months ago.
Yes, you did. And that's why I was like, well, good for you. We got an episode coming up. Want to join?
Watching 14 hours straight of, I think, that same Hulu series, and I have not been able to sleep since.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't watched it yet.
Don't watch it when you're home alone, because that's the mistake that I made, and it was not great for my mental health.
I feel like I shouldn't watch it when I'm home, period.
When are you not home?
Precisely.
Okay.
It's a good hotel watch.
Great hotel watch.
Good
no one's ever sneaking in there. No risk.
No one else has a key to your room at all.
No one's ever getting in. Fort Knox, babe.
But then what
have I told you my hotel phrogging story?
No. But you need to now.
Okay, is now the proper venue
of
for
course,
it?
Yes.
Of course.
So we went to Puerto Rico just a month ago. And
this just happened?
This just happened.
Babe.
Oh my God.
And we were all, it was a birthday gift, so we got the presidential suite.
Oh yeah,
you
do.
All out on the veranda in our private jacuzzi. And
oh my, this just keeps getting worse.
Where's my birthday present?
Right?
All of a sudden we could hear people in our room talking, and we ducked our heads in, and there was a group of strangers sitting at our dining room table eating.
What?
And we were like, hi, who are you? And they were like, oh, we are staying in this room. And we were like,
no, you're not.
No, we are staying in this room. As you can tell, because all of our fucking shit is in this room.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, the hotel gave us a key and said that they gave us a free upgrade to your room. So
to
we had to go
your
down
room.
to our room, which we had been staying in for like 3 days at this point.
What the fuck? The bed's
Yeah.
probably not made. There's your shit everywhere. What the fuck?
Well, and like, as my partner put it, like we could have been pooping or having sex or
yeah.
both.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
to kill
anyway.
2 birds with one stone.
Mhm. I mean, you know,
Efficiency is key.
You could have been pooping in the outdoor jacuzzi.
well, we did that after
Well,
the
duh.
hotel totally gaslit us, and we're like, we think that you lost your key, and they found it, and then entered the building, and it was this whole big
Your key
ordeal.
doesn't have the room number on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did they do? They went to every floor and tried every room until they got to yours and then just went in and just stayed? No.
That is beyond creepy. Did you did they leave voluntarily?
They left voluntarily. They were like, oh, weird, it must have been a mix-up. And then the hotel first said that we must have lost our keys, and they went in. And then they said that they checked the keypad, and they could tell no one had been in. And we were like, well, you didn't ask us enough questions about like our entry habits to have that information.
Yeah.
And then they accused us of lying. And then I was like, can you pull up cameras? And they were like, we don't have cameras. And I'm like, I'm standing directly outside the hotel door and there is a camera.
Yeah, I'm
they were
looking
like,
at a camera.
It doesn't work.
Also, I solve crimes for a living, so
Right.
Oh, I should have
I'm
led
the
with that.
wrong person to try to gaslight about
Led
this.
with that. I love that Josh doesn't play that massive card.
I would play that bitch
No.
all the time.
In
I
my
should
career
play
of
more often.
stalking serial killers.
I ordered
God.
this salad with no cheese, and as a investigator, I can tell you all the reasons.
All the reasons why I know this has cheese on it, and I can tell you're trying to fucking kill me. That's
Anyway, that is my
crazy.
most recent accidental frogging.
Oh,
Wow.
I mean, did they at least seem
accidental.
cool?
Well, we wish they were there for a gay wedding, so they were probably cool. And
Yeah.
then we wished we had encountered them later because we were like, oh, I wonder what the hotel told them.
Told them.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very curious.
There's some follow-up that I
Would
am left
expect.
desiring.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Yeah.
They comped us
disappointed, actually.
$300 after we were able to prove, because they also were like, we called you 5 times, and I like pulled out my cell phone and showed them the call record, and that's when they were like, oh, well, we're gonna comp you $300 for the inconvenience. It's like,
Okay. That's the
Yeah.
closure I needed. Thank you.
I don't-
Even if
for
you
me, it
just
was
made that up.
more just like, I would rather you like give me $100 credit at the restaurant. Like it just
Mhm.
seems like such an arbitrary comp
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know, it felt insufficient. But
It's going to
whatever.
knock a little teeny bit off of the large expense you've already paid to be here
Yeah.
because we let someone just break into your room and it could have gone really bad. It didn't, but it could have.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get to
Great.
the could-haves.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So thank you, Tori, for this. I am fucking jazzed. So let's get into it with our wine crime pairing, Amanda.
Yes, Tori also had a recommendation for us today. She requested that we shout out Arrogant Frog Wines for this episode. And this is a very fun wine brand. I like the story of this brand. The owner / winemaker, his name is Jean-Claude Malls. And he's French, obviously. This whole brand is very French, very French. And it's mostly like Languedoc region wines. So I really like their selection. Their wines sound delicious. I was not able to procure them, but they sound very good. But in the early 2000s, he's like working on this brand. I think he took it over or established it in the late 90s. In the early 2000s, he's like, oh shit, like people don't like the French. Like we are not popular globally. And the US like kind of hates us, and like that's a big market, and we want to be able to sell wine to them.
Mhm.
So he's like, I have a great idea. Let's like address our own arrogance and then like dress it down and like make our mascot a cute little frog in a beret and have all the labels kind of like poking fun at ourselves
Oh, I thought
as
you were
French people.
I thought you were gonna say that they rebranded to like Liv Moss because his last name is MAS.
That would be amazing.
Really dressing it down.
Really dress it down. They did a really brilliant collaboration with Taco Bell, and now look at them. No, it was like literally we're going to rebrand with a frog and kind of poke fun at ourselves and see what happens. And it fucking worked. And now, then by 2005, like they started this in 2001, this rebrand. By 2005, they had over 5 million bottles going to 40 countries.
All of which hated France.
Pretty
originally.
much. So it's like, I guess all you really have to do is kind of poke fun at the French, which I love. So highly recommend checking them out. You can see their full inventory at arrogantfrog.com, and you can kind of check out like the little behind the scenes of their humble beginnings and their winemaker who literally grew up like on a vineyard. And there seemed to be some little nods to frogging in his own creepy way, because he would, as a kid, would like sneak out and like go into the wine cellar because he was just fascinated by the wine cellar. And it's like, bro, you're like frogging in your own wine cellar, which I think is quite funny. And he'd like scare his grandpa. Like,
Speaking
okay.
of, I just saw Bill walk around the corner, and
My husband
maybe
is
it was
frogging.
Bill,
It was Bill.
or it was a Frogger.
He also, you'll probably see him walk around the corner a couple of times because he made a pizza and it's here in the kitchen. It smells really good. So while I do not have Arrogant Frog at my fingertips, I do have the Bluffer Vadiguet, which I'm very excited to pop into. And I feel like this was also fairly applicable because it's like, you're lying about whether or not you live here and you know you're not supposed to be here. How did you get here? Nobody's supposed to be here.
Totally.
So I'm gonna pop this open. It's tasty looking little red. What is she? 14.3% ABV. I did not take any
Oxy.
today.
Like I had to prompt you.
Yep. So it is safe for me to drink this. And yeah, I'm excited. This is like a little bit of a fruitier, lighter red. You're going to get a little bit of strawberry on there, but it's going to finish nice and dry. So it's not going to be like a fruit bomb. Is anyone else drinking anything today?
I'm
you all on
day
your best
6
behavior?
of COVID.
So you need to drink more than any of us.
Dude, my BAC has been at 0 for longer than my body's used to. I probably should.
Honey, I'm worried.
Here, you know what? I will pop open a, I think I have a Truly in the fridge.
Peer pressure. Go get your Truly.
In the meantime, I have got my Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc.
Kimmy, who is
tried and
definitely
true.
a woman.
Yeah. Totally a lady. That's a high noon. That's not a Truly.
I
It's
know.
the
It was this
same
or a
shit.
neutral, and the neutral just tastes like stevia. It's so gross.
Why would you ever get one that didn't have a flavor? Why do you do this to yourself?
It didn't have a flavor.
Masochism? I don't know. No, it has a flavor. It's pineapple.
No, he's talking
Oh.
about the nurturals.
Yeah.
Nurtural.
Oh, I thought you were saying that they made a neutral flavor, which just tastes like sparkling water. And then you were saying that it just tastes like stevia. And I was like, Josh, you're better than
Bro.
this.
I am, and that's why that didn't happen.
Okay, good. I'm glad you corrected me on that. All right, I'm going to pop this for all the fucking Looney Tunes listening. Here we go. No, I'm not. I am, though. It's fine. It's just like old times.
It's going to taste so much better with cork in it.
Oh,
It
Yeah.
is going to taste
I
better.
know.
Listen,
I
this
can
was
just taste that grit.
this was a flawless removal, not a bit of damage to that cork.
Good
You
job.
bitch.
Well, that was a
Cheers,
nice,
everybody.
nice pop.
Cheers.
Cheers. Josh is going to get wasted so fast.
I love it. Well, before we dive into the special selection that Lucy has for us today, which is not just background insight, it's also a little case.
Got a little case for us.
Okay. We're back.
We're back. And
Cowboy,
I'm
take
going
us
to,
away.
I've got not really any psych, because this can happen to anyone by anyone. Does that mean I have to shake them?
Shake your goddamn bones.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
My cork fell out.
Yeah,
That's
who's
a bad
damaging
omen.
cork now?
That is kind of a bad omen.
Not me.
Someone was in my office loosening my cork.
It was your baby. She's already standing.
She's already frogging. She's so advanced.
Your baby, every baby is frogging.
According to dictionary.com, frogging, PH, it's slang, is secretly living in another person's home without their knowledge or permission. The person doing the frogging is often called a frog, kind of cute, again, PH, and sometimes called a frogger.
I was going to say, seems
frogger,
like a
same
missed
thing.
opportunity for frogger.
Mm-hmm. But both and.
Interchangeable. Studio, both and.
Shout out.
See what we did there, Josh? See what we did there?
I did. Thank you.
So a frogger's main goal is to live somewhere rent-free. They avoid confrontation while also sometimes stealing items from the person living there, such as food, toiletries, and valuables. According to Brinks, as in home security, the name comes from the idea of a leapfrog. Here you go. The frogger often hops from place to place like a leapfrog, staying hidden, whether it be in someone's basement, attic, or walls.
Yeah, or floorboards.
Ish.
Yeah.
Under the bed.
Oh.
Mm-mm. Frogging is similar to squatting, except that frogging involves living in an occupied property, whereas squatters live in unoccupied places.
Okay.
Froggers also often don't stay long-term, while squatters often live in places in order to establish permanent residence there.
Squatters' rights, baby.
In fact, squatters sometimes do take legal ownership of the property through adverse possession. And adverse possession laws vary in different states, and it's usually known as squatters' rights. We should have a squatters' crimes episode.
I love
because
it.
those laws are bonks to me.
I want to learn more because I have a feeling I just got really lucky becoming a homeowner and it may never happen again. And if I want a nicer house one day, I'm only going to be able to achieve that via squatters' rights. So I need research.
It kind of ties into like the sovereign citizens shit.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
There was an Airbnb thing where these people Airbnb'd a house and then refused to leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was a show called like The Worst Roommates or Bad Roommates or something on Netflix.
Worst
Seen
roommate
every
ever.
episode.
Yep.
It's so good.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they definitely get into some of the nitty gritty of squatters' rights stuff on that show too. It's wild.
I don't really understand why those laws exist.
I mean,
if
take
you
it
look
away,
at New York
Josh.
City and how many fucking vacant units there are there because owners can't fill them, and yet there's a housing crisis. It's like, fuck those people. If you can afford to have prime real estate sitting around for years on end, then yeah, squatters should go in and take it away from you.
Yeah, I think I agree. I understand it on like a humanitarian level to many degrees.
That is not why we create laws in this country.
But that's exactly, that is not why we create laws in this country. So I get baffled by it frequently. But yeah, I think we have to put that on the docket because we clearly don't know shit. Somebody listening who is like a professional in some, housing law capacity is screaming and pulling their hair out listening to us talk about this right now. That's what I like to imagine whenever we don't know what we're talking about. Someone screaming and pulling out their hair.
Or a squatter is listening to us going, don't draw attention.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe
Actually,
that
if
is what
you're
they're doing.
a professional squatter, please reach out. We'd like to hear from you.
We definitely want the
If you're a
deets. I want to know how it's
frogger.
done.
Yeah. Okay, so squatters' rights. This usually allows a squatter to gain legal ownership based on a continuous occupation of a property without the permission of its legal owner. So, again, we'll have to come back to that at a later date. There is apparently a Phroggers Code of Conduct. So obviously not all Phroggers abide by this code because not all Phroggers love rules,
Mm-hmm.
as is evident by the definition of phrogging.
Mhm.
This kind of reminds me of like camping rules, like Boundary Waters rules.
Like
except
leave
for
it
maybe the
nicer than
first
you
one.
found it.
Yeah,
Take
so
everything out.
Number 1 is don't get detected, which is not necessarily a Boundary Waters rule, but
Sure.
that's a Frogger rule. Number 2, clean up after yourself. Number 3, only take what you need. And number 4, leave the home in the same condition as when you first arrived.
Or cleaner.
Yeah.
Clean, you know.
Well, if you clean it, you'll get detected. That's rule
Not-
number 1.
If you clean it, I will ignore that you're living there.
I'll turn a blind
Honey.
eye.
Yeah. No harm, no foul.
That's true. If your Frogger was like a little bit of a housekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
I think
The
I
door
could be
keeps
okay with
moving
that.
behind me.
I would love that. Do you have a Frogger?
It's Ray. He's a
Oh,
Frogger.
okay. Yes.
So while the origin of the term remains a mystery as to like who started it and when, Ree Tipster states that most people attribute the term to a documentary series called Living with Strangers, which was released on YouTube in 2006.
Oh, it's old.
This series follows 2 young women, Renee and Lauren, who spent 5 days frogging in an alleged stranger's home.
Wow.
The 2 women later claimed to be actresses and stated that the series was staged.
What do you think?
I never saw it, but it probably was. It sounds like a Blair Witch sort of thing.
Okay.
But only a few episodes are left up on YouTube. It was also on Amazon for a little while, but it was taken down in 2015, which actually kind of makes me think that it wasn't staged.
That's what I mean. It's like, why are they trying
Mm.
so hard to purge it from the internet if it was just a project, like a fake acting project?
And they would have a prerogative to claim that it was staged to avoid, getting
litigation.
in trouble.
Yeah. I'm just saying, this conspiracy runs deep.
I like that. According to Digital Cultures, the term was first defined in Urban Dictionary on July 13th, 2006, and it has since racked up numerous other entries. The first time frogging emerged in an online discussion post can be linked to a thread on the Straight Dope message board, posted in August 2007, asking if the phenomenon was real. So basically, the term dates back to like 2006.
The Straight Dope message board is the most 2007 shit I've ever fucking heard in my life.
I can
it's
see
also
the
probably
font.
like it makes 4chan look like a like lovely
playground.
place to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ish.
Ugh. Back when all keyboards were like chunky.
Oh yeah. I miss it.
Sticky.
So sticky. A lot of dust, a lot of crumbs.
When you really needed that canned air. So I know that we might cover this a little bit later in the episode, but there have been a few celebrities that have been victims of frogging, and I am not going to rain on anyone's parade. Don't worry.
Love that.
J-Lo was a victim of frogging in 2013 when 49-year-old John Dubis broke into her Hamptons home while she wasn't there. There's a picture of him on the drive, which will be on the blog. He is
Ew, I need to know what John
looking.
Dubis looks like.
He's got like long blonde hair.
Ugh.
Never trust a blonde man, especially if the hair goes down to their shoulders.
Sorry, Josh.
I'm not blonde.
He's not blonde.
You're blonder than most men I know.
Blonde adjacent.
He's sandy.
This guy is
blonde.
Really blonde. That is not natural. Look at his roots. His roots are gray.
So he frogged in her pool house for 6 days.
Yeah, he frogged in her pool, all right.
Even though even though guards were patrolling the property, probably frogs too, the man was only discovered there like once he was caught by that. Like they came into the pool house, were like, "Excuse me, sir."
Ugh.
He even uploaded photos on Facebook of his time there, referring to J-Lo as his dear wife, Jenny.
Oh.
Ooh.
and like
Ugh.
claiming to be her ex-husband or her current husband. He was like actively posting on social media about being there while he was there. He was charged with burglary, possessing burglary tools, and criminal contempt.
Mm-hmm.
Rihanna was also a victim of phrogging in 2018 when Eduardo Leon broke into her Hollywood home when she wasn't there and stayed overnight.
Ugh.
Rihanna's assistant found him in the living room as he was charging his phone next to his unpacked bag, like he moved in a little bit.
Yeah, that's ballsy.
He was charged with stalking, vandalism, first-degree residential burglary, and resisting arrest.
It's just scary because, like, even if folks are harmless, people in the public eye like that don't know that and have enough, I think, reason to believe or assume
Mhm.
that if you are, ingratiating yourself into their personal space without welcome, that goes hand in hand with potential harm.
Oh,
Well, yeah. Like,
you'd have
not
to
respecting boundaries is
Yeah.
in of itself harmful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just
That's
being
violent
that
in itself.
famous is being that famous is already so violating
Mhm.
just how you exist.
And rich people have so many windows.
Yeah. Rich people love to look at
They love
a
their-
view.
Mm-hmm.
They love to look down at
Yeah.
everyone below them.
God, and as
They're
well
always
they
on a
should.
hill.
Mhm.
With many,
Rihanna
many
can
windows.
look down on me. She can step on my face.
I would
she
love
can
to
do
look
whatever
up
she
at
wants.
Rihanna.
It would be the joy of my life to look up at Rihanna while she steps on me. I would be thrilled.
Well, at the Super Bowl last year, she was like floating above everyone.
And pregnant. and- yeah, amazing. I can't.
God, that was
But yeah,
good.
just can we like not? There are plenty of other shitty rich people whose houses we could fuck with. Can we like leave Rihanna alone for a while? That'd be super great.
Go bling ring someone else. And don't
Yeah.
like move in. Don't
No.
unpack.
No.
So if caught phrogging, someone may face several criminal charges, including felony charges. Some of these charges may include criminal trespass. I'm fine.
Criminal trespassing.
Criminal trespassing, which is usually a misdemeanor. Burglary, destruction of property, vandalism, invasion of privacy, theft, stalking, and harassment.
So can you get a charge for burgling even if you don't take anything? That's more of just like the breaking in. It's like the violation.
I think
Of
burglary
space?
is taking.
Yeah, I think breaking and entering would be the charge, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, but
I suppose
but
theft is
you can
probably
take
more
stuff.
of like, yeah, theft might be more of a high value item, but you can maybe get a burglary charge for even just like you're using my toilet paper, you ate my bread, like more petty stuff like that, maybe. Because otherwise, why bother with both? Why have burglary, theft, and breaking and entering, trespassing?
That was probably my mistake because I just added theft because I forgot that burglary was already on that list.
Oh, okay.
So let's
well, then
not
I'll
dig
just shut the fuck
too
up.
deep into that.
Great.
Okay, so as was alluded to, I do have a little case to share. This is fucked up, and Josh already knows about it because it was featured on that. What was that? What is the Hulu series called? It's
I
like
think it
Stranger
was
in My
like-
Walls or something.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. The one I watched, it was just like phrogging, and then like stranger in my house, I think.
Okay,
Ugh.
I think we're talking about the same one. So,
Well, this is also the fan suggestion.
okay.
So no wonder it's so creepy because y'all are depraved.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
fucked up.
Y'all recommend the scary shit,
Mm-hmm.
and we just dance like the little monkeys we are.
And this one kind of pulls a ring type ending, as we were talking about the other day. Like you think it's over, it's not over.
Oh God!
Does this involve a cat?
No,
Oh, sad. Okay.
I have a cat on my lap. It
There isn't one
involves
of those-
a cat now.
One of those episodes they were like, we can't find our dog, and they went down into the basement, and there was a cat wearing their dog's clothes.
I don't remember that one.
The Frogger
was
just tried to
incredible.
replace their dog
No,
with
the
a cat.
Frogger ended up like stealing a loved one's dog and then moving into their basement, and then found, or loved one's cat, moved into these people's basement, found their cat's box of costumes, and because it was cold, was dressing the dog in the cat's costumes. It's incredible.
This is
I
exactly
don't remember
how
that one.
this is how I would do it. That's the kind of Frogger I aspire to be. I'm just here for the pet costumes. I'm minding my
mean,
own business.
I have a box of cat costumes in my basement, so that
I'm
could
frogging
happen.
in.
I'm frogging in.
I'm frogging in.
on up. Okay. So let's go way back to 1986 in Pepperell, Massachusetts.
This is before 2/3 of us were even born.
Yeah, old ass.
For the listeners at home, Josh has just flipped us off.
So
Whatever,
this is,
Josh. You look younger than any of us. You lucky
yeah, we're
bastard.
haggard.
I don't know
You
what
look younger than
baby
us
blood
with
you're
COVID.
drinking to maintain your youth, but we want some, okay? 'Cause it's getting rough over here, and you look incredible. It's
He's in
not fucking
cahoots with
fair.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Staying young.
In more ways than one.
Okay, so Pepperell, Massachusetts, it's near Boston. So this is where 16-year-old Tina Bowen lived with her father, Frank, and older sister, Kathy. Her mother had recently died from cancer, and the whole family was just bereft. They were grieving.
Mhm.
So one day, out of the blue, Tina received a phone call from a local boy named Daniel LaPlante, who was
Never trust a Daniel.
No, that's a good point. So he
Mhm.
was about the same age as her. He was either 15 or 16. I saw two different. I mean, probably could have figured that out with math, but I didn't. He's around that age.
Okay.
He claimed to have gotten her phone number from a mutual friend and supposedly lived in the same neighborhood as her. So they started chatting. Gradually, Tina and Daniel formed a close bond over their frequent phone calls, and she valued him as a friend who helped to lift her out of her grief
Okay. 'Cause she had
He-
lost her mom.
because she lost her mom.
Got it.
He described himself as tall, blonde, handsome. He sounded nice. She had an image of him in her head as like being this attractive guy.
Did she actually not really know what he looks like? Like, he
She
claimed
had
that they
never
knew
met
each
him.
other? Okay.
No, he just claimed that they had a mutual friend and he lived in the same area.
Okay, so he could give her any description he wants to.
hmm
Ugh.
Eventually, Daniel asked Tina out on a date to go to the local fair, get some ice cream. She accepted. She was excited to show off her handsome new boyfriend to her
man.
friends. Blonde man. But when she finally met him face to face, she was kind of creeped out because he was nothing like she imagined. He was nothing like he described.
He catfished her. He's like the first catfish.
And he made her really uncomfortable by asking her way too many questions about her mother's death.
Ugh.
So she like stuck it out through the date, but was relieved to finally go home.
Yeah.
Like that was a bad experience.
Imagine thinking like, okay, if I get through this, it'll be over. I don't have to answer these calls. I can just put this to rest. And knowing, because the story is being featured on this show, that's super not how that's going to go.
No, that's how the episode ends.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Great.
Anyway, that's my segment.
Everyone's fine. He just wasn't blonde. Next.
Unfortunately, no. A few days later, Tina and Kathy, her older sister, decided to use a Ouija board to contact their mother. I saw that Frogger again, Amanda.
Yeah.
That Frogger's behind you.
It's Bill.
Sure.
He's real.
He's real.
He's a real boy.
Okay. Used a Ouija board to contact their mother, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
Once they conjured her spirit and started asking questions, they were surprised scared, shocked to hear rhythmic knocking through the walls in
No.
response to their questions.
No.
So as
No.
anyone would, they assumed that was their dead mother's spirit. So they like continued asking questions and kind of did it for a little while. They were freaked out, but they, just out of the Ouija board
I would do
worked.
the same thing.
Of course.
I also, if I was the Frogger, I would do the same. Just like
Of
an
course you would.
opportunity like that is never going to arise. So,
No.
Yeah.
I know. It's a
You're
pretty
taking it all the
prime
way.
moment
Yeah.
to be a Frogger.
Yeah. What a time to be a Frogger.
Not that it was a Frogger, but as we all know, it's a tricky deal to conjure spirits, especially with the Ouija board. You're really playing with fire.
Yeah.
And odd things began happening around the Bowen household.
Oh, no.
Furniture would be rearranged, like dramatically rearranged. TV channels would change on their own. And
the gaslighting, like they think that they welcomed this into their home by using the Ouija board.
they fully thought it was a
ghost.
spirit, a friendly
Yeah.
turned evil spirit. Also, full glasses of milk would be emptied if like one of the girls left the room for a minute, poured herself a glass of milk, went to the bathroom, came back, glass of milk was empty.
Oh, this filthy man just scurrying out of the wall to chug milk and then scurry away. Ugh.
Even worse, the girls discovered threatening messages written in what they at the time perceived to be blood on the basement walls.
Oh,
So they
God.
were thoroughly freaked out. But when they tried to tell their dad about it, Frank Bowen just dismissed their claims and thought they were just kind of struggling to accept their mother's death because they were like, we did the Ouija board and then our mom's spirit came and then all this crazy shit started happening. He's like, yeah. And it was the 80s, so
Satanic
didn't get any
panic.
therapy.
No therapy.
Yeah. However, on December 8th, 1986, Frank received a call from his daughters and one of their friends who had been hanging out at the Bowen household. The girls had seen another bloody message, this time on Tina's bedroom wall.
No. Mm-mm.
And had rushed out of the house to the neighbor's house to call Frank and like tell him what happened.
Yeah.
This is a quote from Cinemaholic. When Frank arrived, he noticed the furniture to be in even more disarray than the girls had described. So it got worse since he received the phone call. And someone had recently used their toilet.
Ew, and didn't flush it?
I guess. How else would you know?
What was in there?
What
was in the toilet, Lucy?
I don't know.
No.
One or two.
Let's go with two. Let's go with two.
You know it was a 2 because like no one's gonna clock a 1.
Yeah.
Was there toilet
It makes
paper?
it worse.
Unless it was a 1 that was like
What if there wasn't toilet paper?
What if there wasn't?
Oh God, you guys!
It just keeps getting worse.
Also, like these
that
messages,
wasn't a bloody
are they
message.
like,
It was a poopy message.
are they like, hey girl, hey? Or are they like, I'm going to put my fist down your throat? Like, what are the messages?
It's like, you're
on
gonna
a scale
die.
of hey girl, hey to I'm gonna put my fist down your throat. Where are these messages falling on?
We're far on the latter side.
Oh,
Okay.
It's like, I'm gonna
they're
kill you.
threatening.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, because now he's a Daniel scorned.
And
We'll
we
get
don't know
to it,
anything
yeah.
about that.
I'm making assumptions based on the information I have right now, and it's him, and he is not a natural blonde, and I'm upset.
Okay. After seeing the bloody messages himself, Frank investigated further. So he's like going around the house trying to figure out like who the fuck is in my house scaring my daughters.
Mm-hmm.
He goes into one of the bedrooms, or he goes into his own bedroom and opens like his late wife's side of the closet.
No.
And finds Daniel LaPlante hiding in the closet, dressed. One article said dressed as a Native American, but also like wearing a quote unquote hairy coat, like wearing a furry coat and face paint. And he was wielding a hatchet and a wrench.
No.
Oh.
No.
So
Bye.
Daniel pops out of the closet takes Frank, Tina, Kathy, and this friend hostage in the room. He like shuts the door and is threatening them and like won't let them leave. He takes them hostage in their own home.
Oh no.
But luckily, somehow Tina manages to escape. She jumps out the window and runs over to the neighbor's house and calls the police.
This is what's so wild to me about stories like this that predate cell phones. And in some communities, even in 1986, well, maybe they probably did. Maybe everywhere did have 911 by then. But like, not everywhere even had 911 dispatch. Like, you had to dial the full fucking phone number of your local police station to get a response. Like,
well, this was near Boston, so
they probably had it. But still, it's like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Josh remembers a time before 911, but we don't.
I do not. Go fuck yourself. I hope there's a Frogger in your closet now.
Being a child of the 50s, I like to think
Josh is a boomer.
Josh is such a boomer. I like to think that there are not places in my house that would be amenable to frogging, but then I lose my cats all the time, and I'm like, where the fuck are you hiding? And it's like, they know all the good spots. Like, the spots exist. Like,
I know of 2 places in my house that are totally amenable to a Frogger.
We do. Our bedroom, our main bedroom is a converted attic that still has like roof access that we kind of turned into storage and closets. That's definitely good frogging location.
I mean, there are places in my house that are like closed off, but there are pockets of space in there. Under my porch. I'm just going to
Josh, what are good frogging spots in your house? Let's all give our address and the best frogging spot.
Yeah.
We could house a community of Froggers, and where we live, no one could hear us scream.
You have so many wildlife cameras, though. I feel like your shit would get picked up. A Frogger would get picked up so fast.
Oh, totally.
You have a very surveilled yard, and it's not for like security. It's for like ducks and nighttime critters, possums. Yeah.
All of whom have names.
Heavy surveillance.
Yeah, you couldn't get away with sneaking around my house because my floors are way too creaky. Like, I would know if you were there for sure, but there's a pocket under my porch. There's a really small space between my upper floor and the roof. And also under the stairs before we redid them.
Under the ground?
One of the steps lifted up.
No.
And there's a whole crawl space under the staircase.
The fuck?
Oh.
Yeah. It's gross. It's not very big, but it's there.
Isn't that where Charles said there was, quote, darkness coming from the basement or fear coming from the basement?
Well, the basement, yeah. There's fear coming from the basement.
Her psychic told her there was fear coming from the basement.
We're better now.
It's probably all the kids that they kept down in that sub-stair crawl space.
Probably.
So there was a large family who lived in this house here in like the 50s and 60s. And they had like, I think there were like 4 or 5 kids. And he said that it seemed like the kids like fucked with each other and like locked each other in the basement.
Like you
freaked
do.
each other out. Yeah. The oldest one died in Vietnam.
Great.
Anyway, moving on. I've saged a bunch in this house. I've done a lot of energy work. It feels a lot better now. Okay. Okay, so Tina jumps out the window, runs to the neighbor's house, calls the cops. By the time the police arrived, Daniel had vanished.
But he didn't hurt anybody?
He didn't hurt anybody.
You seem disappointed.
No, I'm shocked, honestly. If you're hiding in a hatchet in like bad racist drag, or in a closet with a hatchet in bad racist drag, and then you don't hurt anyone, I'm just kind of surprised.
Well, he got spooked because Tina ran out of the house.
Okay, to call for help.
So he's like, oh shit, the cops are going to be here any second. So he pieced out.
Got it. Okay, that tracks.
So the cops came. Daniel was gone. The family was freaked. They relocated to a hotel because they weren't going to stay in that fucking house anymore.
No.
Because also by then they were piecing together that he'd been in there for he had been in there for a
weeks.
while. We'll get to
Ugh.
it. So 2 days later, Father Frank, returned to the house to retrieve some belongings. As he's approaching the house, he looked through a window and he sees Daniel in the window.
Again?
So Daniel's in their fucking house again.
After he'd already been caught?
Yeah, he's in the house
Come
again.
on.
So Frank calls the cops. The cops come. The cops go into the house where they discover a horrifying message. So here's a quote from Officer Bezanson.
Bazinga.
When I opened the door, on the right-hand wall, I saw a knife sticking out of the wall. And I see it's through a picture, a family picture, written on it in magic marker, "I'm still here, come find me."
No.
Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
No.
Now the hair goes up on the
Lucy?
back of my head. Yeah. Oh,
no.
it gets so much worse, you guys.
How?
We'll get to it. On another wall, I saw another picture saying, "I'm going to kill you all," with a knife through it.
Which I did wake up whispering, "I'm going to kill you" in bed with my husband not that long ago.
You're
but this was
creepier
a
than
different
Daniel
situation.
LaPlante.
I am not creepier than Daniel LaPlante, and you fucking take that back right the fuck now.
You're up there.
This is... I'm up there?
I mean, it's not creepy to...
It wasn't me, it was the oxy, you guys.
It was the tall man.
For
Pale man.
both of
And
those
that-
excuses in
That
court.
will be my defense in court, by the way. Let it be known. I'm
Okay.
gonna get drunk now. This episode is fucked.
So
Okay.
the cops dig around the house. They determined that Daniel was hiding behind a wall in the bathroom. So this officer, Bezanson, recalled, quote, "I pulled my pistol and said, 'I got the son of a bitch right here.' But he didn't move. I told him, 'Let me see your hands or I will splatter your brains all over that wall.'"
Okay.
Okay. A little theatric, little
Officer
histrionic.
Bazinga's got a flair for the histrionics. Yeah. Cool it, Officer Bazinga.
So eventually Daniel comes out. The cops soon discover that he's been secretly living in a crawl space between the walls that separate the toilet and the plumbing for almost a year.
Oh my
What?
God.
So wait, when he
Living.
first reached out to the daughter, he was already creeping in there?
I'm gonna answer your questions.
Oh my fucking God. Almost
Fully
a year?
living there. Yeah.
This begs a question. If he was behind...
A question?
If he was behind the toilet, was he like peeping on them pooping?
Oh, he was at
Probably.
least huffing farts.
You could hear.
Oh my God.
You could imagine.
Imagine all of my gassy this guy would have moved out after 4 days behind my toilet. Not even. That's
4
being very
hours.
generous. 4 hours.
Yeah.
He'd be like, you know what? It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not worth it.
You could say this guy was a pooper peeper.
Okay.
Yeah, you could say that, Josh.
Pooper
You could.
Pee.
Little pooper peeper.
I like
this guy. Almost a year. Okay, keep going. I want to die. This is awful. I'm freaking out. I hate it.
So, who was this teenage creeper? Daniel LaPlante was born on May 15th, 1970, a Taurus,
Not
And
a blonde.
and grew up in Townsend, Massachusetts. From a
How
young
far
age,
away is that? Do we know from where they are now?
they're all in the same area.
Okay, so it's like an adjoining town.
I think it's probably like Chanhassen, Excelsior.
Got it. Okay.
From a young age, he was sexually and psychologically abused, primarily by his father, but also by his stepfather and his fucking psychiatrist.
Oh my God, the trauma. Okay, now I feel bad. It's still
Well,
awful,
You're
but I
still
do feel
responsible
bad.
for your actions.
Correct.
He struggled in school and was diagnosed with dyslexia when he was pretty young. He was not popular at school, behaving,
You
quote,
don't say.
he behaved, quote, abnormally, and he did not have good hygiene. He was just an antisocial, didn't fit in guy.
Yeah, that's a rough combo too.
His classmates,
you're gonna get bullied.
Yeah. His classmates described him as creepy and weird. Quote, this guy was...
Josh is like, memories. Josh cracks open a yearbook and it's just, it was, tell Cersei.
I'm Daniel LaPlante.
I'm Daniel
I'm
LaPlante.
the pooper peeper.
No, Josh, are you the pooper peeper?
I'm the pooper peeper.
Quote, the guy never really was all that friendly. He never liked to go to parties. He never really talked much, said classmate Patrick McGuigan to the Boston Globe in December of 1987. In his teens, Daniel was arrested numerous times for breaking into neighbors' homes. So he had a history of breaking in. He stole jewelry, money, and other belongings, earning himself a bad reputation in the community. So, like, people knew who he was in his neighborhood. In fact, he had broken into the Bowen house before he first called Tina, having seen a picture of her in the house and becoming infatuated.
Oh,
there it is. It's just, it's so fucking tragic because this kid needed help this whole fucking time and was ostracized by his community, which, like, I get.
Yeah.
But there are so many victims in this situation because this kid was harmed so violently and then he was just cast aside, and then it's like, what the fuck do you expect? Of course he's gonna live in your walls. What the fuck else is this poor bastard gonna do?
Yeah.
This is
2
why we
+ 2
fucking
= 4. He's gonna live in your walls.
He's gonna fucking live in your... I mean, I know it sounds funny, but it's like, fuck. You guys, we need proper social service structure.
Yeah. And to be abused in that way by your psychiatrist.
Everyone you trusted, your family, and then whoever your family sent you to help you is doing it too.
Yep. Every
shocked.
adult in your life.
I'm
to
frankly
the point
shocked
where
this
like,
didn't escalate more.
I would rather just live in a 1 by 6 foot space in a wall.
Behind a toilet and sniff people's shit. Than be in society.
So after his arrest at the Bowen residence, Daniel was arraigned and sent to a juvenile facility where he remained until October 1987 when his mom, Eleanor Moore, I got the door tour.
I don't know what any of this means.
No.
Bring it on.
Oh, okay. Sure.
When his mom, Eleanor Moore, remortgaged their home to pay for the $10,000 bail. So his mom bailed him out October 87. So hopefully this would have been the end of the story, but it's not. This is from Oxygen. On November 16th, 1987, less than a month after being released on bail, the now 17-year-old Daniel broke into the home of Andrew and Priscilla Gustafson, a young couple who moved to Townsend 5 years prior. He stole multiple items from the home, including a cordless phone and a cable box, according to court documents. And here I'm going to give us a big old trigger warning because it gets pretty dark.
Okay, so the part where I was like, wow, I'm surprised it hasn't escalated more. Now we're getting to the escalation.
We're getting to the
Good.
escalation.
I'm glad I'm holding my cat and she's gazing at me lovingly while you tell me these horrific things.
Yeah. Hold on to that feeling. So a couple weeks later, after he initially broke into the home, on December 1st, 1987, 33-year-old Priscilla Gustafson picked up her son William, who was 5 years old, from a babysitter around 1 p.m. She returned to her home where Daniel had broken in for the second time.
And she didn't know it at that point, that he'd broken in before?
I think they knew that he broke in the first time, but I think they knew that someone broken. I don't think
weren't
they knew it was
necessarily-
him, or
Okay,
else he
okay.
would have been detained,
Right.
probably. So she returned to her home. Daniel later told investigators that he normally would have left the Gustafson residence upon hearing someone come back to the house, but this time he decided not to leave.
Ugh.
Instead, he confronted Priscilla. He tied her up. And by the way, Priscilla was several months pregnant at this time.
Oh, God.
And had a 5-year-old child.
And a 7-year-old child who we'll get to. So
Oh,
she's pregnant
God.
with her third child.
Oof.
So he tied her to the bed in the primary bedroom and locked 5-year-old William in the closet. He then raped Priscilla before shooting her in the head twice with a gun that he stole from his neighbor, Raymond Pindell. After murdering Priscilla, Daniel drowned William in the upstairs bathtub. And then he was going to leave the home, but at the time he was going to leave, 7-year-old Abigail returned home from school.
Oh, God.
No.
So he then took Abigail and drowned her in the downstairs bathroom.
He annihilated the entire family.
Except
Except the dad.
she also reportedly suffered blunt force trauma, which suggested that she was like struggling, like fighting back. And her 8th birthday was the next week.
Oh,
come
my God.
on.
I know.
Lucy.
I'm sorry. I don't like it
Tori.
either. Tori.
Tori.
Okay, we're through we're through the worst part.
beast.
You beast. Andrew Gustafson, so the husband, the father of these children, called the police when he came home from work around 5:30 that evening, at which point he found Priscilla's bloodied remains in the primary bedroom. He told the LA Times in 1990, quote, "I was too afraid of going to look for my children because I was afraid I'd find them dead. It was so shocking and unbelievable. I screamed. I wailed." Ugh, God, I have chills. That's so gross.
This poor family.
I know.
I can't even fathom what this man, the grief that this man
Inflicted.
experienced. Well, that Daniel inflicted,
yes.
but that this husband, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're coming home from work. No one's got a cell phone. No one's tried to reach you. You have no idea what you're
just
coming home to.
discovering the scene as it was several hours earlier.
I mean, I know that like human beings are incredible and that we can truly overcome unfathomable things, but you just don't recover fully from something like that. You just don't.
No.
No.
You might find a way to like survive and continue living.
Maybe.
But you are never fucking the same. If you're lucky, you find a way to continue living.
Mm-hmm.
But like you're never the same. Your life is over. Your life as you knew it is done.
Yeah.
It's annihilated.
I can't even go there. So the cops immediately suspected Daniel LaPlante, especially because there was a report of an earlier break-in, and they had him pegged as like a weirdo who hung out in people's houses.
And I'm assuming this was also local.
Yeah, this is all.
Yeah.
So the cops named him as a suspect in a press conference the day after the murders, so December 2nd. The next day, on December 3rd, Townsend resident Lynn McGovern reportedly came home to her own home, pulled her car in the driveway, parked in the garage, but then she felt such a strong feeling of discomfort, she didn't really know why, that she pulled her car out of the garage
So
and
she
back
felt
into
this
the
before
driveway.
she even got out of her car?
Yep.
Wow,
she felt
good for
so
her.
uneasy for some reason that she
just pulling into the garage.
That she pulled back out into the driveway, flagged down a police officer, and asked him to escort her into her house. She just felt like something was wrong. When they entered her home, Daniel, who was in her home, jumped out of a window and ran into the woods. So, like, maybe she saw, like, the window was open, or maybe she had heard about the Gustafson murders. You know, all of these things could be true.
Who knows what could have triggered that unease, but that's some pretty incredible, like, I'm sticking to my gut.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So Daniel jumps out of her home, runs in the woods. Soon after that, he forced another local resident named Pam Makala.
My God, this is a spree.
It's a fucking spree. He forced her into her car, but then he escaped again when Pam jumped out of her own vehicle. So he pushed her in, presumably tried to get her to drive him somewhere.
She's like, fuck that, I'm bailing. Yeah.
Then he bailed and escaped again. Finally, cops found him hiding behind a trash can in nearby Ayers, Massachusetts. So he's finally arrested. Following Daniel's arrest, Frank Bowen expressed anger that the teen was released in the first place. He told the Lowell Sun, quote, "If Daniel LaPlante does not get convicted and gets out again, I will personally kill him."
Yeah, I mean, I kind of can't blame him for feeling that way at this point.
No, not after what he did to that fucking family.
No.
As Frank explained to the paper, he and his daughters lived in perpetual fear of Daniel and had vacated their home following their encounter with him. They fully moved out.
Yeah, they can't live there anymore. They're too scared.
Quote, "You can't imagine what kind of fear we have been living in. He is mentally insane. There is no question about it. And now I am financially broke and emotionally disturbed and trying to put my life together again."
Well, and imagine the guilt of this father whose kids came to him originally and were like, I understand. It's like we were playing with the Ouija board and now there's like something weird happening in our house and he didn't believe it, which you can't blame him for not believing that story. But I'm certain that I can only imagine as a parent, you feel some type of way about like, I didn't listen to my kids and now this has escalated and we don't feel safe and I'm going to go as hard as possible to make sure that they are safe forever because I fucked up once and I'm not fucking up again.
And just thinking about like what could have happened to his daughters.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think pulling a wrench and a hatchet on a family of 3 is like, okay, you posted bond, we'll see you later.
Right? After living in their walls for the better part of a year?
Yeah.
He was a juvenile, so he was a minor, which I'm sure had an effect on his quote-unquote sentencing. He was also only out on bail because the murders happened so quickly after he got out, you know?
It's just such a systemic failure because he we knew he needed help before that.
Yeah.
Okay. And he sure as shit needed help after that. And he was a risk to himself and others from that moment on. And that should have been taken seriously. And he should have been given proper psychiatric support so that he could actually recover and be safe to himself and others in his community. And
1000%.
that was not taken seriously at all. He got out on bail. He annihilated an entire family, including a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
I can't.
So, well, this will make you feel a little bit better. Following a trial in 1988, Daniel was convicted of all 3 murders in the Gustafson family slayings and sentenced to life in prison. In 2017, he was up for resentencing after a new Massachusetts state law went into effect stating that juveniles sentenced to life should be given the chance to re-enter society. The chance. So he gave a speech to the court about how sorry he was, and he went on and on about how he deprived the kids of turning 6 and 8 and the unborn child of taking its first breath and blah, blah, blah. But psychiatrist Fabian Sala said that Daniel showed, quote, no empathy and continued to minimize his behaviors.
Yeah, you can't ignore that.
Yeah, so he remains behind bars in the Massachusetts Correctional Institution in Norfolk, and there is a picture of him as of 2017, I think.
Oh, so he's
still
alive.
creepy. Oh, he's still alive, yeah.
That's him? The bald guy?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Nope. Nope.
As for Daniel's victims, Tina Bowen has since forgiven him and doesn't hold any ill feelings towards him. Kathy, however, still can't sleep in the dark and is counting down the days until Daniel dies. Priscilla's...
Can't blame her.
Oh my God, I smell burning fur. He got too close.
Ray!
Priscilla's sister, Christine Morgan, testified that her sister wouldn't want Daniel to see the light of day. Additionally, Andrew Gustafson's second wife, Carol Gustafson, said that Andrew was, quote, plagued by nightmares of his family's murder until he died from cancer in 2014.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Lucy, for this uplifting case.
Yeah, seriously,
Anytime.
Tori. I mean, the human part of me really can see that Daniel is a victim here too.
Oh, for sure.
But it's just...
It's so
really
violent
hard.
and so
It's
fucking
so violent.
creepy that he was... Like, where were the adults?
Yeah.
Besides the ones abusing him. The fact that nobody
was-
stepped in. He was a 16 or 17-year-old living in the walls of another family's home.
Yeah.
I just...
I just feel like all of this could have been avoided if literally the system as a whole had taken this as seriously as it needed to be taken.
Yeah.
And there would have been so much avoided loss of life. And Daniel himself could have had a fucking fighting chance
Mhm.
of being able to be free and be well and be safe.
Yeah.
And instead, he was not safe, certainly not for other people. And all of this devastation happened. It's just really hard to wrap your head around that. And how, like, one person's suffering going untreated and unchecked and uncared for can cause these waves of devastation across an entire community.
Mhm.
I mean, Josh, you know that better than anybody at this point, given your line of work.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and,
it's
honestly,
really rough.
listening to this, this seems like shit Keys would have done. Like,
It does. It's like Keys coded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that it escalated, it's had he not been caught, who knows what could have happened.
It's so inhuman. And
It's shocking.
Drowning two young children.
Yeah. Oof.
That is a very particular way of killing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to be so cold-blooded.
Well, yeah, I
to
mean,
do
so
that.
disconnected from your own humanity, and it knowing Daniel's background, of course he was.
Mm-hmm.
How could you possibly connect with your own humanity when all of the people who are supposed to protect you have betrayed you in the most horrific way? I mean, what choice do you really have? If all you've learned is violence, you're going to perpetuate violence. Like, it's just kind of the way it works.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to generalize, those who are abused. I am saying that to say that this is a common, hurt people is like a phrase, quote unquote, for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a stark representation of exactly that kind of shit.
But to end on, I guess, I don't know if I call it a lighter note, but if you look at the picture that I have labeled Gustafson's, there's a picture of Priscilla and her two kids, and it looks like they're sitting down to Thanksgiving dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very Thanksgiving-ish setup, but
Yeah.
they just look so happy, and that little girl looks exactly like her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Just
She looks like Kirsten Dunst.
She
just like Kirsten Dunst and what's her face who was married to Heath Ledger?
Oh, Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams.
Mm-hmm. She looks a little bit like Gwyneth Paltrow. She's a beautiful little girl.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they just seemed like such a happy, sweet family, and they were blindsided by this fucking tragedy.
And this was supposed to be a lighter note, Lucy. Look at this
I don't
happy
know, they
family
just
right
had
before
a
they
slight
got
of
so
nice-
Look
hard.
at these now deceased people who used to be so
What?
happy.
Let's just pause and remember this nice Thanksgiving they had one time and never again.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay.
It's a sweet picture.
Never eulogize me.
Yeah. Lucy, you're fired from speaking at me and Josh's
The last
joint
time I gave
funeral
the last
because
time
I
I
can't
gave a-
die without him.
the last time I spoke at a eulogy, I incorporated the word boner. Got a good laugh.
Whose was that?
Jessica's.
Jessica's?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's accurate.
It's
I did
because
not sneak in boner.
the French word for happiness is bonheur.
Bonheur. Mhm.
And the accent wasn't great in French class with her with that one, so she just said boner.
I love that. She blazed her own trail.
That's when I knew we'd
Okay.
be friends.
Well, you did a really great job
Thank you.
on that.
Thanks.
So this is like an episode of Phrogging with the Stars over here, okay? So we kind of touched on this earlier, but like modern media has been on an ever escalating parasocial trajectory, which is something even we, the three of us having this conversation for all to hear, is something we've experienced, but never like this. I mean, the closest I've certainly come is like my wedding crasher, but I haven't been like stalked in my home.
Yet.
And, you know,
As far as you know.
As far as I know.
As far as you know.
Bill,
It took the
check
Bowens
ductwork.
the better part of a year to figure that out.
Please stop.
I'm
mean.
keeping it real.
I'm too drunk for this.
He's been with you this whole time.
Oh,
Watching you.
Yeah.
Watching you poo.
Peeping
It's
you
fine.
poo.
Peeping you poo.
Great. Poopy, pee-pee pooper, peeper, people eater. So I hate you guys. This all just really very much gets under my skin. It all fucking escalates. We're all like addicted to some kind of media, celebrity, whatever. And if you're like unwell, then it can escalate pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just creepy. And then add the element of people like living in your walls or behind your toilet or in your floorboards. I just can't.
They could be anywhere. They're like the borrowers, but like full size.
Well, and it's like these, yes, and these incidents are so much at the core of a lot of our fears. And like, that's why they contribute to so many urban legends. Like, think about the college girl. She's coming back to her dorm. She sees her roommate like fucking somebody and ignores it and then goes to sleep and then wakes up to like a bloody message on the wall saying, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light?" Like, that was an urban legend that we heard around the campfire. Or like,
Oh my God.
the guy in a truck that chases you down flashing his lights and you think he's chasing you, but actually he's trying to warn you there's someone in the back seat.
Yeah.
Or like, humans can lick hands too, like the dog story.
It's the invasion of a space that you think is safe, such as your fucking home.
Your home, your car. Like, have you checked the children? The call is coming from inside the house. Like, it just fucks with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then add celebrity, like we kind of touched on earlier. Celebrities are so visible all the time and literally propped up as an object to obsess over. We all do it to some degree.
And then you're made to think that you have access to them, especially with
And
like
that you
social
know
media
them.
and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and like that's how they make their money. I mean, if we're being really honest in this episode, like that's also part of how podcasters make their money.
Totally.
And for the most part, we're very lucky because like the intimacies of bonds that we do form with people who appreciate and love the shows that we're making are often really lovely and great. And, you know, it's very rare that we will stumble upon a listener who has any kind of ill intent at all. But we're not at the level of celebrity that some of these folks that we're about to talk about were. And it's just really unsettling. And it's also like, this is how a lot of celebrities make their money. So it's not that much of a surprise that they've been targeted on so many occasions by some kind of sinister form of home invasion, specifically here, Phrogging. So I have... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was like, I've been on the yucky end of a few of these like parasocial relationships gone wrong.
Mm.
And even at BravoCon, I had to keep reminding myself, like, oh, I don't actually know these people. Like, I can't just walk up to them. It's a strange thing. And to your point, like, we prop open the door to like pull in a bill and then expect them not to kick the door open.
Right. And that's, you know, that's on us. And we have to be mindful of our behavior and also how we engage and what kind of boundaries that we set. And I also think that there is an element of privilege for folks in our position specifically to even be able to set those boundaries.
Mhm.
And there are certainly a lot of people much more in the public eye than we are who kind of don't have that option anymore. Like there
Yeah.
is a level of celebrity that you can reach where those boundaries are very hard to maintain. And that's the territory that we're getting into with the stories that I'm going to go over today. So first, I'm going to talk about legendary pop icon George Michael.
My boyfriend.
R.I.P.
I know.
Oh, I
Now, to
love
teach the
him.
children who were born before us and Josh, shockingly,
And Josh.
George Michael was a
Before and
founding
after us.
member before and after. AJ and BJ. Awkward. George Michael was a founding member of a UK pop group called Wham. And if you've ever heard that song, Last Christmas, I Gave You My Heart, that's a Wham jam.
That's the
plays
one
in-
you're
Thank you, ma'am.
going with?
Okay, because that is,
Yeah.
it's the one I'm going with because we are assaulted with it every holiday season. It knows no age. It knows no limit. It's in every Target, every Pier 1 imports. You're not going to ever escape that song. I feel like you can escape other Wham songs. You can't escape that one. That one's frogging in your brain, essentially.
No, that's
It
fair.
lives rent free.
Yep. And
people who have not heard of George Michael, like, don't go to that as your, I don't know,
I'm speaking to the
starting
children.
point. I know,
I'm
but I
speaking
want them
to the children.
to do better in their research into who we're talking about.
That's
Um,
on them.
I would
I'm
also
not gonna do
I
it.
would also point the youngers to George Michael singing Faith that was
We'll get to
covered
it.
by Fred Durst.
We'll get I literally have that written into my notes.
I'm so sorry.
How
Careless
dare
Whisperer.
you? I can't. I'm never gonna fucking dance again. So that's Wham with an exclamation point, which is very important, very pivotal to the branding. Yes, I'm drunk, so no, I can't pronounce exclamation point, but thank you so much for clocking that. This group produced extreme earworm hits in the early and mid 80s, mostly big with the I'm burping. Okay. Mostly big with the teens at the time. They were a huge success. But eventually, George got the itch to make music that catered more to an adult audience and ended things amicably with Andrew Ridgeley, the other Wham founder, in 1986. And it was, quote, the most amicable split in pop music history.
Yeah, they
Good for
usually don't
them.
end well.
Nope. So George Michael would go on to a super successful solo career. His most iconic song, Faith, the music video of which prominently features a very tight pair of jeans. It was a powerful awakening moment for a generation of people, especially queer men.
Mhm.
And I would be remiss not to show my love for the Limp Bizkit cover,
Mm.
which was my first introduction to George Michael.
Oh,
Of
so
And
course
I
it
am
good.
not ashamed to say it.
So good.
I'm
I
a
mean,
little
I
ashamed,
prefer the
but-
original, but the
Yeah,
Limp
it's better.
Bizkit one is kind of fun to like rage to in your car. I also had the LimeWire download, so it was like a little bit like rocky at the beginning.
Tinny. Yeah,
Tinny.
not
Yeah.
great. The quality was not stellar.
It like skips at a specific point, so when I hear it on the radio or I'm like playing it in my head, I like include the skip.
I love that so much. That's iconic. So George Michael was, like we said, a queer icon, unfortunately, pushed into coming out in 1998 under extremely silly and frankly predatory circumstances. I put this kind of in the same envelope bucket as like, you all know how I feel about Paul Rubens, and I feel like Paul Rubens was wronged for getting like indecent exposure charges
Oh,
in a
jerking
porn
off
theater.
in a jerk off theater. Sorry.
Literally. So like the way that George Michael was outed was under similarly fuckety circumstances. So he was arrested in Beverly Hills, California for, quote, engaging in a lewd act in a public restroom. But the lewd act in question was the result of a sting operation. So like he was in a bathroom that may or may not, I don't even really know, have been known for cruising, which like
It was.
is, yeah, there you go. So like it was already targeted
was a
by
gay raid.
police. Yes. So essentially, here's what he said about it in an MTV interview. He said, quote, I got followed into the restroom, and then this cop, who I didn't know was a cop, obviously, he starts playing this game, which I think is called, I'll show you mine, you show me yours. And then when you show me yours, I'm going to nick you. Like, I'm going to arrest you. And so he says, if someone's waving their genitalia at you, you don't automatically assume that they're an officer of the law. And I've never been able to turn down a free meal, is what he said.
Same, George.
Fucking iconic. But I just feel like shit like this should not be legal. It shouldn't be legal toward sex workers. Really it shouldn't be legal toward folks buying drugs. Like, I'm sorry. I am not okay with this. I think this is bullshit. And this incident, because when you get arrested, that ends up going into public record, he's outed now publicly. So the cop offers the I'll show you mine, you show me yours. George reciprocates the penis showing. This guy, the cop arrests him.
Would you say he put too much faith in the shower?
I hate you so much.
Was he a pee-pee peeper?
Oh my God.
Pee-pee peeper.
You know what? Yes, and good for him. So he's suddenly being arrested. He pleads no contest. He pays an $810 fine. He sentenced to 80 hours of community service. But like the most severe consequence is how he is essentially violently outed by the police. And it's really fucked up. That should not be a decision that's made on his behalf. In 90s, the 80s.
80s?
Or 1998. Sorry, 1998.
Yeah.
But still, we're still like reeling from the backlash of the height of the AIDS panic.
Yeah, we're
80s.
not there yet. You don't want to.
We are not.
I mean, no one wants to be outed against their will anyway.
Under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just really fucking pissed about that, so we had to cover it. So hilariously, George Michael takes the whole shit show in pretty amazing stride. George Michael is fucking incredible. And shortly after, he releases a music video for his song called Outside, which satirized the whole bathroom dick-wagging operation, featuring men dressed up as cops making out with each other, which I'm obsessed with. And as a result of this music video, the arresting officer that fucking tricked George Michael into essentially showing him his dick filed suit against George Michael for slander, mockery, and emotional distress.
What a
Who's
loser.
The fucking
What a
snowflake,
fucking loser, right? You snowflake little bitch. Like, go fuck yourself. And the courts have inevitably ruled that, like, if you're a public official performing a sting, you cannot claim damages for emotional distress.
No.
So, like, bye. Your suit, your case is
You're the one that wagged your dick at George in the first place.
Agreed. So George Michael would stay very successful. I mean, I would say a lot of this launched his career even further into the stratosphere. He racked up hundreds of millions in album sales, and like being outed did not do too much to hurt his position as a total sex symbol and icon. It really just broadened the pool.
Oh yeah.
Now women and men could both like openly thirst for him, and we do.
I thirst for the one earring.
Yep. He won 2 Grammys, 3 Brit Awards, had 13 number 1 singles. He did great. And all of this celebrity does not just come with being targeted by dick-wagging police officers, obviously. So in 2004, he starts to get strange emails. Somehow, this doesn't sound that weird, because it's like, oh, okay, he has an email address that fans can write to, and some people get weird. Yeah, it's not that. Somehow, a fan had obtained his private email address. Not the one managed by his team, not the public one, his personal one. And email after email of disturbing content is like sent to him from an unknown source. He has no idea where this is coming from. And the specific content of the emails wasn't released. I think it's really bad. And it was intense enough that when he forwarded these emails to the authorities, the police became very concerned. Oh. Even to go as far as to say they were afraid of a, quote, John Lennon situation.
Oh my God.
And so I have to imagine these emails had to be unquestionably awful for the same fucking system that is super fucking homophobic and trapped and outed George Michael can't even look away and is like worried about his safety.
Ooh.
These emails continued for days until one night while George is at home, he's at his house, he has a friend over, they're hanging out, they're drinking wine. George stops short in the middle of a sentence because he could have sworn he heard someone saying his name that wasn't his friend that was sitting right across from him.
Ooh.
In his house.
Ooh.
He was so convinced of this that he went to investigate the sound. It makes my fucking skin crawl. And what he finds is more than he bargained for.
Oh, God.
So as it turns out, for at least 4 months, a woman named Lucy Novak, who is age 29,
No, not me.
had been it was you, bitch, had been creeping into Michael's home, George Michael's home, then later his office, and later his rural cottage at Goring-on-Thames, Oxfordshire. During these break-ins, she had found his personal information, including his personal email, and started to send him these deranged messages. And the home of her latest break-in, which I think is the cottage, where he heard someone saying his name, was built on a slope. So parts of the house were on stilts.
On a hill, celebrities, windows.
Yep.
And she had wriggled her way into the space between like the underside of the house and the floorboards of the inside and set up a little camp there.
Ew. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
she was under the ground.
under the floor.
She was in his floorboards.
Ish.
And this is where she was hiding when he heard sounds in his home. And she had been under the floorboards for at least 4 days.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
I can't.
Fucking telltale creep.
Yeah. And on that 4th day, Lucy Novak had started calling out for Michael to lure him out of his house, down below to look for her and to find her hiding spot. I don't know if she was stuck or she just like wanted him to find her.
Oh, where she would like fall on his head. They'd get married and end up together.
That's almost exactly what she does. He comes looking for her and he's like under the house. He's like, what the fuck? She leaps out of her hiding spot, scares the bejesus out of the poor bastard. And, you know, he describes it in like the most adorably British way. He says, quote, I was talking to one of my friends one night and I thought I could hear my name being called out. And then she suddenly presented herself. He's being so sweet about it. She was living in your fucking floor, George Michael. Let's get a little scream.
Don't need to sugarcoat it.
Nope. So we called the cops. The police arrived, but they were like unwilling to take her into custody because I guess the stalking laws in the UK are somehow even worse than they are in the United States.
Oh my God.
Michael said, quote, the only reason they eventually took her to the police station was because she punched one of the cops. So now she had an assault charge against an officer.
Straw.
Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't have even bothered arresting her. Which is sick to me.
Luann.
Oh my God. God bless her.
Totally.
Lucy Novak does not have the pole that Luann de Lesseps has. Yeah. She's not hiding behind that Luann de Lesseps legal team. De Lesseps. I'm sorry. De Lesseps.
Countess.
Anyway. Called Tess. I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
When you address me in front of the help, it's Countess de Lesseps.
When you address me in front of the Frogger. So this arrest did not keep her away. Lucy Novak still returned to the home multiple times.
Christ.
She came back a few times, Michael said. And a few months later, they found her masturbating in the corner of my garden.
He's talking about her the way Josh talks about his wildlife.
Literally.
She
George
came back a few
Michael-
more times.
Watching Lucy Novak on wildlife cam just jacking off in the corner of his garden like one of
DJing
Josh's
in this
fucking
garden.
possums.
Her eyes are like green with the night light. Or what's it
Josh,
called?
if you don't leave here naming one of your possums Lucy Novak, I'm going to be
happening.
very upset. I'm going to be very upset. Missed opportunity. That would be very Trishelle of you not to name one of your possums Lucy Novak.
Oh, she scurried up under the floorboards again.
Masturbating in the corner of my garden.
I'm trying to like
Classic
not to
Lucy Novak.
minimize it. If I would be like skeeved out or like slightly delighted if I found someone masturbating in my backyard.
You know, it really depends on the context. I think a
I think so.
stranger who doesn't want you specifically.
As long as they weren't like looking me in the eye, I think I'd be okay with it.
As
Right.
long as there were like several layers of like a barrier between us,
At
I'd
this
watch
point,
for a minute at least.
Mhm.
Lucy is masturbating in the garden after repeated acts
I
of
don't like the name.
of
Okay.
B&E. Lucy,
Lucy
get
is
out of his garden
masturbating in the garden.
with the wrench in the garden.
It's not me, love.
T-shirts coming soon to winegram.com.
No!
You know what? Yes, I'm gonna text Elizabeth to get that merch order
New
going.
keychains.
Lucy is masturbating in the garden
Again.
again.
Have you seen this woman?
But I want it to be like a combo of like our Lucy's face and a possum.
Well,
So
so
that
I'm
it can
already
really-
a rat face, it wouldn't be that hard.
That's accurate. Possums are delightful. I'm ready for this. I love this merch idea. We're going to run with it. It's
Yeah.
going to fail, and I do not care.
We've had worse ideas that did better.
We definitely have. So we find her masturbating in the garden. George Michael's like, LOL, please take her away.
He's so chill about it.
This is a bit much. But while she's like out on bail, even after frogging under his floorboards for 4 days.
Do you think she
She-
yelled freedom when she got out?
God, I love that song so much.
You've got to give what
She-
you take.
You do got to give what you take, but like she's giving too much
Oh, okay.
and also taking too much.
Mm.
So I think it's after the frogging incident. She gets out on bail, but they establish a protection order, but she breaks it immediately.
Of course.
And part of that,
Why would
part
she
of that
respect that?
no, she's masturbating in the garden and she's still sending him deranged emails. When Lucy Novak, the person, not the possum, was finally brought to court, George Michael appeared at her hearing pleading. This is so, I mean, I really cannot stress enough how like lovely a person George Michael seems to be, because he goes to the hearing and essentially begs the court to keep her out of jail because
Oh.
despite her like reign of terror, he can see very clearly that she is unwell and he does not want her to go to jail. He wants her to go to therapy, like intensive outpatient or inpatient therapy. And so he showed up himself and helps advocate that she be given psychiatric treatment instead of jail time. And it worked. Like he was able to persuade the court, you know, I'm the victim here. I want her to be healed. Like this is the shit that your fucking Frogger needed. Someone to advocate for
Yeah.
him,
Mhm.
to say this person needs help. And if they're ever going to be safe in public for anyone, then we need to step up and fucking help them.
That's really
And this
that's
great.
didn't
how-
give little Lucy Five Fingers the wrong idea.
No.
Possums have 5 fingers.
Yeah. Lucy Novak recovered in a mental health facility. She was released after
Amazing.
several years. There was a restraining order against, you know, between her and Michael's partner, Kenny Goss. And that was like it. She did not come after him again. She like actually was rehabilitated to the best of my knowledge and was able to live comfortably in society without potentially causing harm to other people.
That's
the
That's
ideal
incredible.
fucking outcome.
That is very ideal, because what I was going to say is that that's kind of risky that he shows up at her hearing, because
it's very risky because it could reinforce.
In a way, you're kind
Yeah.
of giving her what she's wanted, which was
Yep.
attention from George Michael, and maybe she's like,
Yes.
"Oh, it's working," you know.
I think he did take big risks
Mhm.
by doing that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it really shows his connection to humanity.
He's just a sweet
I don't know.
man.
I just thought that was a really beautiful way to like actually practice community care.
absolutely
Community
Mhm.
care is not always easy, especially because we are raised in such a foundational society of like fear and reactivity. And it would be so easy to react only to this from a place of fear. And I would completely understand why he would do that.
Mhm.
But he didn't. He chose not to do that. And he wanted to actually make sure she had a fighting chance at being rehabilitated. And I think he inevitably helped change her life,
That's
which is
really
pretty fucking
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's super fucking cool.
I
and
love
like,
George Michael even more.
makes me think about that kind of stuff. Like, what can community care look like if we really all commit to it? It could
Mhm.
look something like this. You don't have to be George Michael to advocate for healing in your community, which inevitably makes everyone safer.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox moment. But like, following all of this, George Michael did retire from show business, which like, can you blame him? I would also run for the hills if I found a fan living under my house.
Well, I'm sure
I
that
would
wasn't the
probably not
primary
be
reason he
podcasting anymore.
retired.
No, he was totally ready to retire anyway. But didn't he die of cancer?
He's died.
Yeah.
He did die prematurely.
Let's see.
He was
George
sick.
Michael.
Yeah.
Death.
I will say, when they did his In Memoriam, Adele covered his song Fast Love.
I don't know how I feel about that.
He
It gave me
died
the
of
chills. It was so good.
It was good.
heart disease.
Oh, it was incredible.
He died of heart disease.
He
Okay,
was
all
only
right, Adele.
53.
Yeah, he was young. He was
Mhm.
really young.
Oh, cardiomyopathy,
Oh shit.
where the left ventricle doesn't properly pump blood.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's not great. Not a great situation.
God, he was so
So
handsome.
before I sign off, I have one more icon to cover,
Okay.
Okay.
and her name is Pamela Anderson.
Ever heard of her?
Ever fucking heard of her? And if you haven't, fuck you. Same with George Michael, frankly. At the time that this tale unfolded, Pamela Anderson, this was the early 2000s. She was like peak Baywatch-driven super fame. And if you don't know fucking Baywatch, it's the lifeguards in hot red bathing suits
The
running
slow
in slow
run.
motion. Yeah, that's the show. Her life at this time was an absolute whirlwind. Again, she's at the peak of her career. She's having her big moment. Everything is chaos. So when things start to go missing around her house, Pamela doesn't really have time to think about it. That loaf of bread on the counter seems like it might be a little bit smaller than when she left it, but I don't know. Where did I put my denim jacket? I don't know.
Oh my God, that's how gaslighting started.
I don't think that thing is where I left it.
But I
So
don't know.
Pamela, yeah, the gaslighting. Pamela says she starts to think that she's actually losing her mind
Wow.
in this like week-long, nothing feels quite right, but I can't put my finger on it. Maybe I'm just misplacing things. I don't know. And with all she had going on in her life, it's like easy enough to chalk it up to stress or just being chronically busy. I would literally never notice someone moving shit in my house. Like my ADHD is so bad. I just assume I'm living with ghosts all the time. I never find anything where I left it because I never know where I left it.
You're like Memento. You're like tattooing yourself with reminders.
I'm living Memento. Like, come live in my house. It's great. There's no chaos here. Everything's fine.
And she'll never notice.
She'll never fucking notice. So at the time, Pamela was living with her young sons, Brandon and Dylan, and she had just divorced her first husband, Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee. And one day in 2001, she's hanging out outside. She's hanging out in the back of her house. She's looking outside over her backyard, which has like a cute little pool, a little garden, and a guest house. And in the window of the guest house, she just sees a face just staring at her.
Oh my God. That gave me such willies.
Yeah.
Oh.
She says, quote, I remember seeing a face in the window. I was alone there with 2 babies. Isn't that the scariest thing you can think of? Her kids were little.
Oh.
She's alone in her house. She's got 2 kids. She's recently divorced, and there's someone staring at her from her own guest house. So
Where
she
are
had
your
not invited.
assistants?
Right?
God.
Don't have a guest house. That's the moral of the story.
Don't
Accurate.
not have a glam squad in your
This
house.
is the takeaway. Well, Pamela would later say that like she called security. There was security. They searched. But I think what happened was these 2 locked eyes, and this person in the guest house realized that they had been spotted and took off because security looked around the property. They couldn't find anybody. And at the time of this encounter, Pamela Anderson was preparing her house for guests. Her mom was sick. And so she was going to have family staying with her. So like after this scare, she's like, okay, maybe somebody broke in, security chased them out or whatever. They're gone. But like, I have a lot to fucking do because my mom is sick and my family's coming. So she says, quote, my mom was in the hospital. My dad was coming into town. So I was preparing a room for him when someone came upstairs and said, Pamela, there's someone sleeping in your bed. It suddenly escalates. She recounted, quote, I was thinking very Goldilocks-y in the moment. I'm obsessed with Pamela Anderson. I love her. That's what came to mind, Pamela.
Do I bring them porridge?
What kind of porridge do I have on hand? She did say, she's like, in the moment, I assumed it was one of my house guests because she was getting ready to have people stay with her. She's like, I think it's my sister-in-law, my brother's wife. But after a few minutes, she realizes how strange it would be for her sister-in-law to just be lying in her bed. Even if it was her sister-in-law, she's like, this doesn't seem right. We got to investigate this.
Oh my God.
Turns out the woman in Pamela's bed was not an invited house guest. Surprise. It was a woman named Christine Evelyn Roth, who is 27 years old. Why all these young Phroggers? I can't. 29,
3 names
27.
too. It's kind of prestigious. It's not Frogger typical.
I also have 3 names, and when I make the papers, they're going to use all 3.
I mean,
So
I have
don't give them that
4
much.
names, but
You have so many fucking names. I'm so
I know.
confused. La, L. So Christine had located one of Pamela's iconic red bathing suits in the home,
stop.
put it on, and was discovered in Pamela's bed wearing the bathing suit.
Oh my God.
Don't apologize for laughing. That's shocking.
That is so fucked.
If we don't laugh, we cry. It's amazing Pamela's alive. This is shocking.
Oh my God.
Quote, I went into the room and there was a woman wearing my red bathing suit and speaking French with blonde hair.
With blonde hair.
Somehow the French makes it so much funnier.
So much funnier.
And worse.
And then she gave me a letter saying she wanted to touch me and she was there for that, to touch me. And she had a lot of my clothes under the bed.
God.
Under the bed?
That's hilarious.
Jesus.
It gets really bad for a second.
Oh my God.
Pamela goes on to say she'd been there like on the property for a while and then in the bed for a while waiting for me. And then she cut her wrists with glass.
Oh, no.
And it was this panicky moment. I grabbed the kids and went outside.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
God.
Police
that is
came
a
quickly.
Fucking nightmare.
Yeah, that would be very scary. Christine is okay.
Okay, good.
She survived. I think that the cuts were fairly superficial. I don't know if her like true intention was to take her own life. I think it was one of those things where it's like, oh God, I've worked so hard to be like accepted by this person, and shocker, she's not accepting me as I lay in her bed wearing her bathing suit, and now I'm panicking and like I'm not thinking clearly. Chemical imbalances are stepping in. I am clearly not making sound decisions, and so here's what I'm gonna do.
Well, and who are we to dissect her decision making in that moment?
We're
either,
not.
But
I can only assume it was not logical because this is not a logical outcome.
so it was.
You know?
It seems like a very Glenn Close moment, like
It's very Glenn Close.
it's very rabbit in the pot.
It's very single white female. It's very scary. So police arrived quickly and took Christine into custody, where she was treated for her injuries, and she did confess to being infatuated with Pamela Anderson. Christine was unarmed, which, like, of course, where are you going to hide a weapon in the tiny red bathing suit that you're wearing?
It's an
So,
open
like,
back, though. She could have had it tucked under the back.
That's less places to hide. It's a backless number.
Yeah, but if she's facing, put it down your butt crack in the back, easy in and out. All right,
Well,
I'm just
regardless,
defending her at
she
this
didn't
point.
have one. She didn't have a weapon.
Okay.
I'm also
other than-
assuming she arrived in clothes.
She did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she could have hidden a weapon in her.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
by the time she was found, she had like collected a bunch of Pamela Anderson stuff under the bed and was wearing her bathing suit.
She had time
So-
to hide a weapon.
She did have time, but she didn't have a weapon.
Okay.
Pamela later recalled, quote, "The police said, well, you really weren't in that much danger because she was a girl."
Oh my god.
Who was a girl?
The
Christine?
intruder.
The French woman.
Christine,
yeah.
the French blonde.
Oh, because
Pamela
she
says,
was
I was
a
like-
girl.
Exactly. So it's just police being fucking misogynistic
Oh
pieces
my
of shit.
God.
Women can't harm you. And so Pamela says, how does that make it less dangerous? Women can still murder people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we fucking can. Don't take that away from us, cops.
Also, she could have had a weapon down her open back bathing suit. They didn't know that.
Also, just because she didn't have a gun doesn't mean she didn't have a weapon. She
had
grabbed,
glass.
Yeah, she
Mhm.
grabbed a glass, which may have been at the bedside table, or I'm not really sure where that came from. But she harmed herself
Yeah.
with glass. She could have just as easily harmed somebody else.
Technically did have a weapon because she hurt herself.
Precisely.
Fuck
So
these
this is
guys.
just that the cops are fucking useless. Anyway, the clothes, food, objects missing from the home, all discovered under a bed in the guest house where Christine had stashed them. So she'd made like a little nest. Pamela was not going crazy. The bread was missing. Like slices of bread were being taken out of the bread bag.
Wow.
The denim jacket, all that shit. She said, quote, "It was all under the bed, and it was a room that had an outside entrance because it's the guest house. So she came in off the beach."
Wow.
Anyway, she says she was deported back to France and she had some issues and her family was happy to have her back and I was happy to see her go, is what Pamela said.
Did she come from France just to live in Pamela Anderson's guest house?
I'm
is
not
a
100%
sentence I never thought I would say.
I would
not
like to see her
100%
customs form. Like, why are
Yeah.
you visiting?
Business or pleasure?
I think she was vacationing in California from France. She certainly was not approved for an extended stay. And then I think she extended her stay in Pamela Anderson's guest house, is what
Okay.
I gather.
All right.
There was no evidence that Christine Roth posed a serious threat to Pamela Anderson, and it is unclear how long she'd been living both in Pamela Anderson's house undetected and just like been in the area lurking. We don't know. But Pamela believes it was at least for 3 days that she was in her house because she noticed in 3 specific days like some really weird shit being moved around her house,
Wow.
which is very unsettling. It was reported by Christine Roth's friends later that she had intended to approach Pamela Anderson and give her a box of chocolates. How a friendly approach turned into frogging in her house for days will remain a mystery. I don't know.
That escalated real quick.
But after she was treated for her self-inflicted injuries at the hospital, the police inquired as to whether or not Pamela Anderson wanted the recovered iconic red bathing suit, and Pamela said no. She said, quote, "The police asked me if I wanted my bathing suit back, and I said, no, it's okay. Thank you very much, though. Just give it to her." So she let her keep it.
Oh, I bet those cops kept it.
Oh my God. The
I
cops
bet
are
it is
definitely
full of cum.
Yeah, it went into quote unquote evidence.
Yeah.
And has now been blasted full of holes by these fucking losers that we call the police.
Or
in wherever
Christine
this
kept it
happened.
and frame bridged it. It's now on the walls of her home in
Frankly, I would rather Christine have it per Pamela's request
Yes.
than have a bunch of cops coming in it.
France.
She put in the work.
She put in the fucking
She did
work.
put in the work. Oh no.
Anyway, those are my little cases today, plus my giant interlude about the Traitors, which I now have to go watch, and I have to eat pizza because I'm drunk. But thank you so much for joining us, Josh Hallmark. Do you want to tell your adoring public where they can find you and what you're working on right now? Because you did launch a new show this year, and it is so good.
Thank you. So I host a show called True Crime Bullshit. Season 6 comes out in March, and it's going to be a wild one. And then I just finished the first season of a show called Unsafe Spaces, which
It's
is
so good.
as much a culture podcast as it is a true crime podcast. We talk about homophobia and gay raids, and we even talk about George Michael in it. But we also talk about two
Okay.
gay men who were kidnapping and killing other gay men from their community in plain view for years and years and years because no one gave a shit.
Okay. There's
So, yeah,
the
Unsafe
popular
Spaces.
part of it.
Yeah.
Well, we love Josh. We love all of your shows. We're so excited to do some upcoming events with you, which we're
I
not going to name
know.
at the moment, but they're coming.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. And thank you all for listening. And we will see you next week, and check under your floorboards.
Ish. Bye. Yuck.
Bye, y'all.